Oh, seamless transition. Hey, everybody. And welcome to the 40-40 Man. It's a baseball podcast featuring a fellow who knows a heck of a lot about the game and, well, someone else. I am that someone else. My name is David Bronfman. I'm your interim co-host.
And my name is Greg Howard, and I'm always going to be the one that's on the left, or maybe the right of your screen.
I guess that's
left to me.
Yes, it's my left as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in. And so, Greg, what's going on this week in the world of the Blue Jays?
Well, actually, a great week for the Jays. We're gonna call this episode. Here we go. We're going streaking through the quad.
Come on, game on, man, game on.
Hey, you, bring your green hat.
Going to be on double secret probation anytime now.
No, this week, because it's completely almost not important, we actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
We took 2 from 3 from a team that's actually going for a wild card spot. And I mean, we beat up on, a bottom dweller, Baltimore, but then they actually kicked our ass last night. However, we did aid in the process of eliminating Baltimore in almost the earliest possible moment that they could have. Baltimore and Kansas City both went out like within 2 days of each other. Still isn't the record, though. The record for being eliminated from any kind of playoff contention is held by the Mets. Everyone's favorite, the Mets.
Go Mets.
But Baltimore went out August 22nd. It is mathematically impossible to be eliminated before August the 1st. So that's...
Wait. When did they get
they went
eliminated?
on the 22nd.
On the 22nd.
Yeah. So based on the number of games that exist, they were pretty close.
So it's one of the worst seasons in history.
Yeah. I mean, they still can actually, if they ace out the rest of the year, they can have the worst record. But there's 31 games left, so it's going to be tough for them to do because granted they got a win last night, but then they're going against the Jays tonight, and they get their one once in a while.
So now would not be the time to go for the long shot bet on Baltimore winning
or Kansas City
or Kansas City. Okay.
Kansas City has been eliminated from both league and wild card contention. Yeah.
Toronto Blue Jays. At least you're not the Orioles or the Royals.
Hey, but this is a good week coming up, so we could actually go for 6 wins this week. We got 3 against Kansas City. Well, 3 against Baltimore. We did 1 last night, which we lost, and then we have 3 coming up against Miami, and Miami's pretty shit hot right now as well. So that's how it's going to be. But in terms of what happened on the weekend, we had a great little performance by Thomas Pannone, who, it's not like he was injured. He was on an 80-game suspension, so he was practicing with his full command and also a little stronger than most people. But went 6 2/3, no hit, and ended up going, getting pulled in the 7th. Gave up a hit, only struck out 5. Sanchez came back from an injury as well, but he did not look so good. Although he struck out 11, he only went 4 innings, giving up 6 runs. So we've got some pitchers back, which is good.
Right.
Our boy Josh Donaldson.
I heard this just before the just before the broadcast that Josh Donaldson has been cleared to play baseball.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So he's actually okay. I want to have a moment of an in memoriam to end the longest running joke in 40-40 Men history. What Josh Donaldson has been cleared to do by the medical staff because now he's actually allowed to play baseball. Well, so what manner of baseball is he actually allowed to play right now?
Well, here's the big kick, right? It's tough because he's only going to single A at this point in time. And single A, don't get me wrong, he hasn't been playing for a good solid 2 months, but he's got to go to single A. He's got to get a couple of swings in, make sure he can smack the hell out of the ball because there's 2 days left for the trade deadline. And he has to put in a good performance for the Jays to actually do something with him.
Is this so? This is just like he's just playing ball, literally just playing ball.
I think it's. I mean, I think he's ready to go. Yeah. But I also think that it's sort of been brought upon by the upper echelon of the Jays to say, yes, you got to go put in a little bit of performance to see what we can get for you, because. Yeah,
but he wouldn't have to do anything. I mean, like
he doesn't have
that's
to.
him being
that's him being a
dude.
Gamer. Yeah, that's him being a gamer, and I'm pretty sure he wanted to sort of get in some licks just for the sake of his own confidence, to sort of have his name floated out there to see if there's a team that was interested in him.
By the way, quick shout out, friends of the show, Whitney Brown and Michael Anderson have tuned in.
Awesome.
Brings up our audience to two.
No.
Hey, folks, thanks for
Bethany Kumar.
Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's an odd time to host a baseball podcast, during a baseball game.
Well, that's when you're at the beginning of the game. No one's really that into it at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, but clearly we are not.
No.
Because we are here watching it. So people who may get traded, as a person who's learning this stuff as we speak.
Yes.
So Justin Smoke cleared waivers, and people are running through the streets and jumping out of tall buildings, wondering how could it possibly happen. How did it possibly happen, and what does that mean?
Justin Smoke has had a good solid 6 years of not achieving his potential, and then last year was the first year where he actually sort of did. So I think a lot of teams are a little weary, maybe thinking that was just sort of an anomaly. Like, he's still pretty good this year. He's definitely not having the year that he had last year. So I think they were just, all right, that was maybe a flash in the pan. He's his numbers are good. They're not. We don't have a 300 hitter on our team except for Gurriel.
Uh-huh. And
Gurriel is literally the only one that's actually batting above 300. So looking in terms of our things, it's the same old story, like how people were pissed off how we didn't get that much, from the first trade deadline. We didn't give up amazing players.
Right.
So we don't have.
Well, we weren't really an amazing team.
No.
So you're saying that nobody claimed him off waivers because they are wary, even though I heard his contract is basically the equivalent of 52 Big Mac meals.
Yeah, it's
granted large Big Mac meals.
It's a dud of a contract. Like, it's not like anyone is going to be saddled with like having to pay a bucket load of cash.
Yeah.
But it's right now, pretty much, with the exception of maybe Curtis Granderson, the Jays is going to be the same, because Marco Estrada was another one that we were putting on the block, and Marco Estrada served up a boatload of home runs on the weekend.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we came back and won that game. That was the 6-8 game.
Yeah.
But it did not look good. Oh well, that's how the cookie crumbles in this one. And this is just a season to sort of write off. And as I stated last week, one of the best things about this season for the Jays and for the upper management is the fact that the season is a loss. So they can bring up all the young guys and give them a whirl. And then look what's happened actually in the past week. The young guys have actually played well. Some
actual real reasons to watch the game as well, to see just how well these young kids are doing.
Yeah.
And just to continue on with what we were talking about, it looks like we may just get another very cheap season out of Justin Smoke next year.
And that's fine. I mean, at the end of this season, it's at the end of this season, everyone's going to know that we're probably not going to have Tulo around, even though he's signed for another year. We're probably not going to have Russell Martin around. We're going to see what we can sort of.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. He might be around in a advisory capacity, unless he still wants to sort of play.
Yeah.
There's a few pitchers that we've been bringing them up and putting them down, bringing them up, putting down, and maybe this is Estrada's last year as well. So,
Russell Martin is on my girlfriend's list of people that apparently I have to let her sleep with no repercussions.
Is he on yours? No,
he's also on mine.
Okay, cool.
It in fact it involves what we like to call sandwiching.
Sandwiching.
Yeah.
It's sandwiching and not Eiffel Towering.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a sandwich moment. Yeah, Russell Martin, not always known as a baseball heartthrob. No. And yet here we are.
He's just cool though. But another guy that's been drawing some interest as of late, and especially over the last 8 games, possibly some of the best pitching stats at the beginning of the year compared to his hitting stats, but Kendrys Morales. Ta-da.
Amazing.
So Kendrys went on a 7-game streak of having a home run. It beat the old mark of Jose Cruz Jr.'s in 2001 of 6 games.
This is the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays won, and almost he was one more game away from tying Ken Griffey Jr., Dale Long, and Don Mattingly for 8.
Like, but, for the MLB record,
for the record,
of all time.
Yeah, of all time. But I mean, it's the longest in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why he's actually starting to light it up a bit is because Kendrys, here's a little stat which is actually kind of interesting. Everyone knows the power that the Yankees have in terms of speed off the bat, like exit velocity. You realize that the league leader in the amount of balls hit over 95 miles an hour or more is Aaron Judge, which seems appropriate. In second place is he does 56.3% of his balls go off the bat at 95 miles an hour. Kendrys Morales is in second.
Oh.
Yeah, but the problem with Kendrys Morales is he hits them very straight. So he's actually got the 3rd most amount of hard ball putouts where it's just literally gone into someone's glove where they've just reacted. So if he can actually get it up, it's good, but he hits them very straight. Very hard and very straight.
I love because like the new way that managers are moving all their fielders to like different spots to like the statistical place where they are going to actually catch it. Kendrys Morales goes up, people just stay put, hold their gloves out. He's going to hit it here anyway.
Easy out. Yeah, no, that's but I mean, if he can help out another team, there's another former Jay that's actually drawn some interest, which is Jose Bautista.
Well, you heard the news today.
Phillies picked him up.
Yeah.
The Phillies and the Mets have to work on a trade. The Mets will find some way to screw that up. But
so they said it was either like a player to be named later or just
that's what this trade deadline is a team can claim him, and then they have a span of time where they have to offer something up in compensation.
So wait, this was like the whole waivers thing, and then the thing, and then the Mets. So the Mets can say no.
Mets can say no.
All right, so
Mets can say no. So that's why they sort of hang him out there, and then other teams say, "Oh, we'll take him, and then they try to figure out who has sort of the best offer, as opposed to just sort of going individually to a team saying, "Okay, well, here's what we're going to have to do." So, I mean, Jose would be playing on his 3rd team this year, and that's not the first time he's done that. I mean, everyone in Toronto should love this guy. Like, he should be a fan favorite because he's hit one of the most iconic home runs in history.
Yeah.
For the Jays.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, he wasn't a regular player until he was like 28, 29, because the Jays were the 6th team that got him, and he'd floated around in 3 other teams that year as well. So the Jays actually picked him up at the deadline as a throwaway.
Yeah. Right. At 28 years old. So that gives hope for me and you to still have a major league baseball.
Yeah, I'm only like 15 years out.
Yeah.
The other way.
Right.
Like I'm not 13 years old.
Well, there's always competitive wheelchair water polo.
Well, I don't take as much drugs to. Oh no, that was
one of the.
I don't take as many steroids in order to do that.
That was one of the dirtiest sports of all time. And hey, another shout out. Some folks joining us right now. We got Luis Del Solar.
Oh hey.
I like to call Aquaman for reasons that he and only he alone knows. And Miley. Yeah, saying hello. Anyhow, hello. Thanks for joining us, folks. Yeah. So I want to get back a little bit to Kendrys and the streak and streaks in general.
Totally.
Yeah, because it was pretty cool because, he only had like 14 homers up until this streak happened. Yeah. And over the course of this 7 home run thing, his batting average went from like around 240 to now 261. Yeah, which is like not just the homers, but it's like that's amazing. This late in the season,
he was getting a lot of hits. Like that's the thing, is all of a sudden it just started to come to. And he went 0 for last night. They did walk him a couple times. They did have a couple of strikeouts, but yeah, no. Speaking of streaks, I mean, baseball has been around for 100 and some odd years. So that means that there's a few a few things that you sort of have to pay attention to. The fact that really weird shit has happened. Everyone knows like sort of the big streaks in baseball, which is 56, which is Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak, which
yes, of course,
hasn't been touched for over half a century.
Right.
2,632, which is the amount of games played straight for Cal Ripken.
That's one I actually did.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like for a while, Baltimore was kind of crap, and that was just what the team was sort of playing for. They were just playing for the streak. Okay. Let's get them in there. They weren't really doing anything. But I don't know. Do you have any odd streaks that you sort of know of?
I don't know. I wanted to look up some sort of interesting baseball streaks. They weren't necessarily the first ones that you would come across, like Cal Ripken, whatever. Yeah. And I found a couple of really, really interesting ones that I wanted to share with you folks and with you. Sure. So what's got to be one of the worst streaks in all of Major League Baseball is the most consecutive at-bats without a home run.
That's, The
most consecutive bats without a home run, I'm going to give you the number first. Okay. It's 2,335 at-bats. And the player is William Holbert.
Yes.
And you know this guy because he's famous for only this. He played from 1876 to 1888. Mm-hmm. He's had an entire career without a single home run.
I mean, Big Sexy only hit his first home run last year.
Yeah.
Granted, he's a pitcher.
Yes.
But there's a lot of at-bats in that span of time, and he's been playing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
But not always in a hitting league. So
Colon could have been in the running for that record, but I think 2,335 is
he had the active record at that point in time.
It's a little much. The most consecutive sold-out games, I found that in my search.
That's gonna be the Cubs.
Well, you're in the right sort of ballpark in terms of like historic ballparks.
So then Fenway.
There you go. Yeah. So
they're also only like 30 somewhat thousand, like 30.
Yeah. Great park. I've been there. I told you they got that entirely strictly kosher vending machine called Hot Nosh. It's pretty amazing. It doesn't work on Fridays. Friday night to Saturday night. It is not there. You can't get the kosher food. Anywho, so the Boston Red Sox 820 consecutive sold out games from 2003. I was
going to say it had to be the early 2000s when they were starting to get good and they actually busted their cherry for the World Series wins.
Went all the way to 2013, but this one comes with an asterisk. Turns out, there's a widely reported statistic that they have the consecutive record, but it turns out in a 2012 audit of the team's finances that it showed that Boston was counting giveaway tickets as sold seats and also counted standing room tickets as a seat. So you could like pack a bunch of people into the standing room only for like $5. But they're also adding to the total. Like that's the standing room seats.
That's a different thing because they don't need to count that.
Right.
Whereas the giveaway seats, that's kind of
weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a really bad baseball streak that could end this year, actually.
And that's the Seattle Mariners.
There you go.
Playoff drought.
Yeah. Consecutive seasons not in the playoffs, which is currently 16. It's the current record in all 4 major pro sports.
Yeah.
You know who it was prior to this in terms of baseball. In terms of consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance. That would be the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. Just when you said. Okay, yeah. No, the Jays
21 years.
Going to 20 years. Yes.
21 years, broken in 2015.
I thought you meant like in sports in general, but no.
In sports in general, that was actually that was the Buffalo Bills, with 17 seasons.
17, yeah.
And right now, if Seattle makes it to the playoffs, this is going to hurt. Who in all the 4 major pro sports takes on the mantle of the most consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance?
In all of sports?
In all 4 major sports.
Let me think on this one.
I said it's going to hurt.
Yeah. Without a playoff appearance. It's Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
That's your Cleveland Browns. Yeah. Everybody, for folks that don't know, our friend Greg Howard over here, he not only does he enjoy self-flagellation, nipple clamps, and shaving with the dullest razor you could possibly imagine, but he also enjoys watching the Cleveland Browns.
What was that one thing you said earlier on, the cheese grater on the dick? That's a good one.
That one also. He keeps telling me to try that out, and I for some reason first of all, I think it's a health hazard. Yeah. I mean, I use that cheese grater for lots of things. I don't think it's going to be. I could feel that an infection could come along. Yeah. So, and then I got one more, and there's a couple of graphics to go along with it.
All right.
One more streak that I thought was pretty interesting, and it is the streak of the most consecutive home games attended by a single human being in a mascot uniform. It's not that one. No, damn it. It's no. Okay. That's close. Oh. It is, and it's.
Let's do this again. Here, hold on a second.
That's okay.
All right, here we go.
It's not. It's not the crab. It looks like. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. So that is a fat version of Lucille, mm-hmm. Of the San Francisco Giants, and last reported. This was actually really hard to find out, but because he was tracking it and reporting it, and like reporters would ask him, how many games are you at now, because nobody's really recording this stuff. 1,494 straight games in the Lucille uniform.
So he's the active leader, because I know the all-time leader was the Philly Fanatic.
The Philly Fanatic, yeah. But
because there's a new Philly Fanatic since 2014. Yeah, but
as far as I understand, that number, that 1,494, is more than the Fanatic.
Oh yeah,
thing. Yeah, but in order to get this record, he missed his own uncle's funeral. Jesus. Who does something like that? Really, that's that important? This unbroken record. Anyhow, that information, that 1494, it comes from a tweet that he sent out in 2016, and since then, I can't find anything about how many more games he did. He was so excited because he's like, by the end of the season, I'll have 1,500. But he never talked about breaking the 1,500. So I think he probably, something happened in the next 6 games, I think, because he never mentioned it ever again.
He went off the coast of Newfoundland, got clubbed by,
Oh, I get it. Because he's a seaman.
Because he's a seaman.
And Lucille in the 50s actually was not a seal. He was a sea lion, because seals don't live in San Francisco. So Lucille don't know why he's there, but yeah, they used to have a real sea lion.
So not even like the California Golden Seals, which was an old hockey team. So it's sea lion, California Golden Sea Lion.
It's a sea lion, but it's a kind of goofy that they can't quite figure that out. Not enough zoologists working for Major League Baseball. I got a picture of another mascot that you guys saw prior to that, and it was just because this came up in the research, and I wanted to show it to you. This is the 1984 San Francisco Giants mascot, Crazy Crab. Crazy Crab served 1 season. For those of you who know a lot about baseball history, the 1984 San Francisco Giants were one of the worst teams in all of Major League history. And so someone in marketing came up with a great idea that they wanted to invent a mascot that people would hate more than the Giants. And they created, and that's actually true. The point of the mascot, it's the anti-mascot. The point of the mascot was to direct the scorn and anger of Giants fans away from the Giants players and onto the crab. And the crab got got stuff thrown at it, got beat up. People physically beat this up. There's a picture of the crab being dragged off in a golf cart with its eye falling out. This poor person, who apparently was actually a real trained actor and dancer, and took it very, very seriously. And so that's
he did the Hive edited for.
So that was crazy crap.
More of a duh kind of not really. Oh, got it. No, that well, okay. One thing you got to look up. I think I've told you about this one. I don't have it on here, but it just because of that. The New Orleans Pelicans basketball team. They have a mascot named Pierre Pelican.
Yeah,
and it's pretty freaky looking. So then they decided to, they used that for a couple of seasons. They decided to bring one that was a little more acceptable to kids, called King Baby.
King Baby.
If you ever have some time, just type up New Orleans Pelicans King Baby mascot, and this is the freakiest thing you've ever seen in your life. Like that. Oh God, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I got a couple weird streaks that I got to sort of throw at you, which is actually kind of cool. In 2005, the Rays lost 3 games in a row where they had a 3-run or more lead going into the 9th inning.
Ugh.
3 runs or more, 3 games in a row. Was it Burt Blyleven between 86 and 87 in 20 straight games gave up a home run, at least one home run.
And that's the record for the most consecutive games given up a home run.
And in 2016, the Miami Marlins used 3 straight pitchers who did not record an out. 3 straight pitchers didn't record an out, but still managed to shut out the team they were playing.
What?
Yeah, it's an anomaly. That's those. I mean, there's a ton. Like you can keep going and going and going. But
yeah. No, I think I've rung the streak train as much as I possibly can. That's the salt and pepper grinder.
Salt and pepper grinder.
Sideways, or as I like to call it, the double-fisted hand job that the Mets were celebrating. Wow. All right. So what's next? What's going on?
Considering we're going back in baseball history, let's do a little bit of baseball history.
Ooh.
All right. So today in baseball history,
I'm really dizzy. That newspaper spun a lot.
Old time stuff. Okay, so today in baseball history, there's actually some really cool stuff. I always like to sort of go back in time and figure some things out. In 1945, Branch Rickey, who was the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers at the time, met with Jackie Robinson because he wanted to integrate black players into the Major League Baseball. And there was a 3-hour meeting. And during that 3-hour meeting, he hurled racial slurs at him for like time to do it. He was
gosh. And he was like, thanks a lot.
He was fine with it. But I mean, that's like an important day in essentially American history where they finally broke the color barrier on that one. And in 1992, this is a World Series winning franchise at this point in time. The Jays set at the time a record for giving up the most hits during a modern day game. They gave up 31 hits to the Milwaukee Brewers, lost the game 22-2. And this is a team that actually went on to win the World Series. 22-2. They lost the game 22-2. And Eric Gagne in 2003 was the first to hit 44 consecutive saves. Did that with the Dodgers, and then sort of flamed out a couple years later. But that's the mark that no one's touched at that point in time. So today in baseball history, there we go.
That's it. That all happened today.
In August 28th, in baseball history.
Okay, so what else is going on? Anything interesting happening?
I mean, we've got the Jays on tonight. We've got Pannone, who is going for a second major league start. Maybe he can get that no-hitter against his name Josh Rogers, who it's his first major league start as well. So the Orioles are sending a lamb into the lion's den at this point in time. Tomorrow we've got Ryan Borucki, who, if you by the way, mistakenly put in his thing, it autocorrects to botulism. On my phone, the amount of times I kept trying to type in Borucki and it autocorrected to botulism 3 times.
So, maybe Google is trying to tell you something.
Yes,
you shouldn't be eating those green beans from the can when the can is now shaped as a sphere.
Botulism.
Yeah. Well, okay, so it's I'm looking at the clock. We're doing pretty good so far, but you give me a project always, right?
Yes.
We can go into this project today, and because if you guys don't mind hanging out for a little while, because this one gets a little involved. But I'd be happy to talk about this project because it is obviously something that we like to do. It's a little sort of little kind of segment that we have, and it's something that I guess we're going to do. It's called "What Did Dave Learn This Week?"
What did Dave learn this week?
All right.
Oh, hey.
We're good.
So every week, Greg gives me random text. It's usually 4:30 in the morning, and tells me something that I have to look up. And then I got to make a little report about it, and then I get to give the report, and then Greg tells me how I got it wrong.
Yes.
And it's what did Dave learn this week? And this week, and I swear to God, this one almost killed me, because we're going to talk about the infield fly rule. The infield fly rule. The infield fly rule.
There we go.
Greg was probably like laughing, kind of, just giggling notoriously as he texted this to me. The infield fly rule.
It's a really, really, really weird rule, and even some baseball managers are still they don't grasp the full concept of it as well. So might as well give you something to.
I don't grasp the full concept of it either, and I'm going to begin this segment by reading to you the from the official rules of baseball, which apparently I just hold in front of my screen, but I feel like I've frozen somehow. But from the official rules of baseball, this is an infield fly. The definition: infield fly is a fair fly ball, not including a line drive nor an attempted bunt, which can be caught by an infielder with ordinary effort when first and second, or first, second and third bases are occupied before two are out. The pitcher, catcher, and any outfielder who stations himself in the infield on the play shall be considered infielders for the purpose of this rule. When it seems, there's more. When it seems apparent that a batted ball will be an infield fly, the umpire shall immediately declare infield fly for the benefit of the runners. If the ball is near the baselines, the umpire shall declare infield fly if fair. The ball is live and runners may advance at the risk of the ball being caught, or retouch and advance after the ball is touched, the same as on any fly ball. If the hit becomes a foul ball, it is treated the same as any foul. It goes on and on. If declared an infield fly, is allowed to fall and touch to the ground and bounces foul before passing first or third base, it is a foul ball. If declared infield fly, falls untouched ground outside the baseline and is fair before passing first or third base, it is an infield fly. That's just the beginning of the definition.
If you want an easy recap, if there is less than 2 outs, and there's at least 2 people on a base, the ball is popped up, the infielders cannot intentionally let it drop in order to get more people out.
Right.
So that is the thing. So it's essentially beneficial for the base runners. But if there's 2 out, floor it.
Yeah. So there has to be less than 2 outs.
Has to be less than
because
2 outs.
Because the purpose of the purpose of the rule is to prevent a double or triple play.
Yes.
An easy double or triple
because
play. Because
someone's going to stay at the base, tag up, let it drop, ping, ping, ping.
It's something that the offense has no control.
But the batter is automatically out.
Yeah.
As soon as they declare infield fly, that batter is out, no matter even if they don't catch it.
Yes, that is also something.
That's what's crazy about that.
That it's still and there's more. Yeah. So less than 2 outs, and there has to be a force play at third. There has to be. So it's got to be runners at first and second, or
first and third, or first and second. So
it's first and second, or second. First and second, or full.
Full back. Yeah.
What do you call it when base or the base is loaded? Mm-hmm. Now, it's so now basically the current difference between the difference between catching a infield fly or letting it fall is that if you let it fall, the runners don't have to tag up. What's going on? If you let it fall, the runners don't have to tag up. If you catch it and it's already been called infield fly, the runners have to tag up before doing it. So there actually is a decision to make after the umpire says,
there we go.
Fly ball.
But the umpire has to call it, bam, right away.
This is, I believe, to incentivize fielders to not be lazy.
Yes.
There's some problems with the rule, obviously, based on just the way that I said it. I don't understand what I just said. But also because it is umpire's judgment as to what is an infield fly.
That's why essentially there's the base path. And even when the Jays used to just have turf, which they still do, they used to just have the 4 pads of dirt. There was always that semicircle.
Yeah.
Which signified that whole semicircle there, which looks like this.
Does it look anything like a semicircle?
Well, it goes around. Oh my God, that's the worst ever. There.
That looks like a chocolate chip
Yeah,
cookie.
it looks terrible.
Okay.
It looks terrible.
Well, yeah. Anyhow, the reason though why it's so you get problems with this because it actually is there's no physical line on the ground that defines what is an infield fly.
Well, that's
we'll get into.
That's that circle which is supposed to define it. But
it actually
the umpires use it. You don't use it as an actual guideline.
If I may, Greg, because this is something that I learned this week, that is incorrect. The second part of your sentence was correct in that the umpires don't use it, but the umpires have no guideline in order to use it. It is not a rule. There is no line about where the infield ends. It is, and I'm going to get to it because it gets weird. First of all, I just wanted to say that the rule is applied arbitrarily because in the rule book, it's an infield fly is something that an infielder could catch with ordinary effort, and the key word is ordinary effort. But let's say you have a guy like my favorite fielder bot, Andlatron Simmons. So a person like Andlatron Simmons, fielder bot, will catch every ball. But then you have so what an umpire thinks his ordinary effort is could be very different from, say, Danny Valencia.
Yes, and Justin Smoke.
When you Google worst infielder is the answer, worst defensive infielder is the answer, and that's why he's in my notes. I want to go quickly into the history, and then I'm going to go into why you were wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have time? Because this is okay. Yeah. So the history, it's a long-standing rule. It's been around for a good long while. Back in the 1890s is really when that stuff. In the dead ball era. Yeah. This is when this stuff started to happen. We started seeing a manner of play that was not necessarily seen as gentlemanly, where you had players who were purposely missing fly balls in order to force a double or a triple play. Yeah. Because this wasn't really cool, it was started to be noted by newspaper articles of the Baltimore Sun dated May 24th, 1893, that made note of a batter who had the speed of an ice wagon who hit a pop fly. And you got I love the way these old-timey sports writers wrote.
The speed of an ice wagon.
Yeah, and the runner stays on first, expecting it to be caught. And instead the fielder lets the ball drop. He throws the force out at second. The fielder has not, the hitter has not yet trundled to first base, and then they throw it at first, and he gets out. And to prevent this, something called the trap ball rule was implemented. And the trap ball rule was just basically the precursor to the infield fly rule, but it only applied when there was a runner on first with one out. And the umpire could make the decision if it was a trap ball after the play had happened. Okay. Eventually get to 1901, where the rule that we generally know it as is implemented. And there's minor changes over the years. In 1904, they amended it to remove line drives. So a line drive is not a pop fly. No. And then it took 16 more years to make it not include bunts. So if you bunt it and it pops up, the infield fly rule does not count.
But at that point in time, because that was called the dead ball era, someone hammered it when they bunted it. We got a hold of that one. Ting. Good old piano legs Johnson really hit that one.
And the crowd goes mild. So then in modern day, what do you think? Do you see the score?
It's 5-0 for Baltimore in the bottom of the third
against the Baltimore Orioles.
All
right. Well, let's continue on with.
Well, they've got nothing to play for right now. So.
Oh my gosh, who has anything to play for?
5 teams in the American League. That's about it.
That's true. Mm-hmm. We're not one of them, right?
We're not one of them. No.
Okay. Got two modern day examples of when this has been a contentious issue. One very famous. Both of them are actually really famous. You have the 2008 World Series where it was during like a huge it was storming, but the game was still going on, and the umpire included wind, the speed of the wind, in his determination that no infield fly should be called, because at that point in time, an ordinary effort, again, it gets back to ordinary effort, in the wind is more difficult than ordinary effort without the wind. So now this includes the rule includes working against acts of God, which, by the way, so they got to do that, right? They get the umpire to call the infield fly rule. He gives thanks to the guy above. I think it's like, hey, it's in your hands now. Is that why he does that?
It's either that or giving props to like a dead grandma or something.
Perfect. And then there's the big one, which is in 2012, the National League wild card game, Cardinals Braves.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I totally remember that. Yeah.
You know this one, so I'm going to let the fans who probably already know, but I want to do a bit of a recap.
Off to the third base side, and it pissed them off. And
Latron Simmons features well in this story. Yeah. He hits a pop-up into shallow left field. Goes in it's in left field. This is where Greg is wrong.
Because it was far as hell. Yeah.
It was in left field. So shortstop Pete Kozma runs out into left field to catch the ball. Left fielder Matt Holliday runs in to catch it. Kozma, shortstop, calls to catch it, and then at the last minute steps out of the way, and the ball plunks to the ground. But when that happened, at the very last minute, the left field ump called infield fly, like right before the ball hits the ground. The left field ump calls infield fly, so Andoltron is called out. But so what you have is what appeared to have happened was that the bases were loaded with only one out, but instead, because of the call, what you have now is runners at second and third with 2 outs.
And the batter that should have got on base.
Yes. Yeah. Now there's 2 outs, and the Braves fans go bonkers.
And that was Chipper Jones's last game too.
Yes. It was, and I know that because it was in the stuff that I read. But they go absolutely bonkers. They're throwing all this crap onto the field, tons of cans, like all these cans everywhere. The umps now have to move closer to the center of the field so as not to be hit by flying debris. People are screaming, yelling. The game is delayed for 20 minutes until a point in time happens when someone gets on the microphone and addresses over the loudspeaker, the game will be forfeited if this behavior continues.
Well, that happened in 2015.
They did
with the Jays.
Oh yeah.
14.
Right, I remember. I totally remember that
because that was just prior to Jose's home run.
Yeah,
but that's the thing with baseball. Football rules are very specific, in hockey they have very specific rules. Baseball, it's sort of a roundabout thing because think about specifically how an umpire calls a game in terms of strike zone. It can be all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's their own determination.
We have the technology that says what it is.
Yeah. But it still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't matter. You can see what it is on the TV, and then if the ump is literally calling it outside of it for a good chunk of the game, that view will go.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. Because
Major League Baseball is like pull the plug on the view.
Because that's why when we played Kansas City, he was calling a crap strike zone for both teams. Right. It doesn't matter. And eventually they didn't put it up anymore because it was just getting ridiculous because both fan bases were getting irate because there was a ball that was completely out of the defined box on the television. Yeah. So baseball is a very arbitrary game.
Yeah.
Well, we have an in studio guest.
Yeah. And then the in-studio guest just walked out. So there's where there is no actual real defined line. The line is what the umpire says the line. I am the line. I tell you what the line is. But it is if a player engages the ball and can make it with what they call ordinary effort, and an outfielder can then be officially called an infielder based on this rule. It's still I still hurts my brain. But for that one, yeah. So the Braves, they failed to score that inning. They lose the game 6-3. And the tail of the tape of that infield fly 225 feet. The ball went out 225 feet.
Because the semicircle is supposed to be what is their guideline. But.
Yeah, and one of the interesting questions, which we may or may not talk about, is this is the postseason, and there are more umps on the field.
Yeah,
which I just learned that they put more umps in. I guess it's like, hey, congratulations, everyone. We want to bring all the umps in. They
have your regular base umps, and they actually have ones a little further down the line. And in 2010, 2011, I'm trying to remember, Minnesota got screwed because there was a foul ball landed directly, a fair ball landed directly in, and the ump called it foul, and it landed right in front of him. And this is an ump down the left field line, and his sole job is to make sure that those further ones down. They get the call right. They got the call completely wrong. That would have cleared the bases for Minnesota, and they would have caught back up into that game and ended up going out.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm still sort of what I want to get to with that is people say that whole fiasco may have never happened if there were just the normal amount of umpires, like your story as well, and that umpires suffer from basically like call envy when they're doing the postseason. They're like
they want to affect the game. They want to make sure that they
want to make calls, and when the left field umpire probably just should have done nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the Byzantine history.
It sure was a call. It sure wasn't nothing.
Yeah. And part of my research included going through law articles. It's just an astonishing amount of minutia has been dedicated to the Infield Fly Rule, and I'm glad that I got to share at least some of it with you. All right. Well, that's it for What Did Dave Learn this week.
Yeah. We'll send out a little we'll pay some bills here for a second. This will take 2 seconds, folks. We're obviously still on.
I got Scott McMaster says, what else is the semicircle 4-chip cookie used for? And I'm going to say gifts to people that you hate.
So speaking of gifts, what brewery sponsors our podcast?
If you get this right, what happens?
Well, right over my shoulder. Big hint. They've got these really cool Blue Jay shirts sponsored by said brewery, and hence the 2-4 because of that case of beer. You can win one of those. So the first person to pop in with, if they can even read, if you can read,
I think you
read the name that is above the 24 above my shoulder.
I think you greatly overestimate
our fan base.
Our fan base.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow. Time flies, man.
Yeah, we did a good solid.
Got some
50
good
minutes, 5-0.
Really? My goodness, that was a long episode. Thanks for hanging in there, folks. Once again, thanks to Brewery. We're not allowed to talk about it because no one's answered the question yet. Oh, Scott McMaster answered Henderson's.
Hey, there we go. Thank you, Henderson Brewery. Then.
Oh, Matty Stone missed it by a second. By a millisecond.
You got a shirt coming to you.
Scott McMaster.
This is going to fit you too. That's going to fit you.
Scott McMaster wins a shirt, so now I can actually say thank you. Thank you to Henderson's Brewery for kind of sponsoring the podcast, throwing us some swag and stuff. Real nice people. Yep. And then also, if you all want to do something like this, that not exactly like this, I'm hoping yours is going to be better.
Yours is a little more prepared.
Hoping yours is good. But yeah. We use a little thing called stage10.tv, and it's a web-based platform. It's on the web. It's on the internet. It lets you broadcast, podcast, visuals, sounds, do all this great stuff, and then send it out to all your friends or people that you hate. Who knows? Anyhow, well, I guess we're going to do this again next week. And until then, my name is David Bronfman.
And my name is Greg.
And until then, stay safe.
And the 40-40 men, David Bronfman and Greg. Sponsored by Understand Brewing Company. It's from in Toronto. There's God.